All right, folks, we're back. And so getting ready for our next panel, your sports career playbook, networking, mentoring, and more. And so I'm calling this panel sort of a catch-all panel. So we're going to talk about a number of different things. And so once again, we have an outstanding group of sports industry professionals who've come on to share some of their insights, lessons learned, experiences with you. And this panel, we have a couple of folks who work in the HR space, so we're going to really be able to dig into some of the things, other things I know that you're interested in, sort of resume building, interviewing, and so forth. But there's going to be a wealth of information guaranteed that you're going to get from this panel. So once again, can be prepared to listen and tune in and take lots of notes. So let's go ahead and introduce this next panel. So unfortunately, Brad Epstein had another conflict that came up today, so he's not able to make it. So he definitely obviously extends his regrets. So we have Dave Lockett, who's a senior director of public relations for the UFC Ultimate Fighting Championship. Dave, good to see you again, and thank you for your continued support in my work. And we're definitely due to catch up. You know, I know we've been passing each other, but I definitely want to catch up and have a good talk with you. And then next we have Devon Davis, who's a manager of content for the Sacramento Kings. And Devon, are you on by chance? Okay, we'll catch him if he comes on a little later. Then next we have Evelyn Bray. She's a senior manager for sports brand solutions for the Walt Disney Company. And Evelyn, welcome and thank you for joining us. And then we have Linda DeYampert, someone who I haven't seen in quite some time, and she's the director of studio environmental health and safety for the National Football League. And Linda, I know you were potentially moving into a different role. Is that still on the horizon, or are you going to be in your current role for a while?
Yes, it is, and it'll probably be announced in the next 2 weeks or so.
All right, great. Congratulations for that as well. Good to have you on again. And then next we have Ryan Kantor, who's the director of global partnerships for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Ryan, thank you for coming on, and thank you for your previous support for last year's conference and your recommendations of others. So thank you very much for that. Good to have you. And next we have Sergio Martinez, who's a senior director of talent acquisition for the Golden State Warriors. And Sergio, are you on by chance?
Yes, I'm here.
Good afternoon. Sergio. Okay, terrific. Thank you for joining us and welcome.
My pleasure.
And last but certainly not least, my friend Xhana Namkung. She's a senior manager of entry-level campus recruiting for Fox Corporation, and Xhana has been a real big supporter for a lot of the work I've done for a number of years now. So it's always good to see you, and I certainly appreciate your continued support.
Well, it's great to be here. Thanks so much.
Certainly. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into our questions. So I'm sorry, you guys, bear for just one moment. I have my notes a little mixed up here. So I wanted to ask this, we talked earlier in the morning about the importance of character qualities as well as skills for success in sports. And so I wanted to ask you all, this is particularly for the benefit of students who weren't able to join us this morning, what skills or character qualities do you think are most essential for success in sports? And really from your perspective, I know there are different roles, job roles, and different skills, different job roles, and sometimes different character qualities. So in your estimation, your experience, what skills and qualities are most essential for success in sports? And anyone can jump in and tackle that.
In all honesty, this is Dave here. Hopefully you can hear me, but in all honesty, I think you have to be outgoing. You have to be somewhat specific also in terms of what you're looking to do. It's very easy to say that, oh, I want to be involved in sports, but that doesn't make you unique. So I think it's important to have a true idea of what you want to do, and really target your experiences, your education, your focus and your cover letters, et cetera, towards that specific job opportunity. I think you also have to look for opportunities to gain some experience, because it is a catch-22 of, well, you need a job to get experience, but they're not going to hire you for the job if you don't have experience. So you need to be proactive, finding ways, whether it's volunteering or whatever, to get some experience and build some third-party advocates who can speak to your work ethic and how you can be an asset to the company. And, it's important to network. Get people to know you and what you do and how you work, so that you can separate yourself apart from all the competition.
Terrific. Great way to start us off, Dave. You said quite a bit there. So Yeah, so certainly being outgoing, being specific and targeted, be specific about what you want to do and target it towards opportunities. Looking for opportunities to gain experience as well. Finding people who advocate for you. So great stuff. All right, so who else wants to chime in on that question?
I'll just chime in really quickly. I think a lot of times with roles that we have in sports, especially for interns, early career candidates and so forth, being able to be flexible with kind of your needs in terms of what you would like to do is important, because with sports, as we all know, sports happen on holidays, sports happens on the weekends. Some of the hours that people work in those different areas are not traditional 9 to 6, 9 to 5 type of hours. So I think keeping an open mind and being flexible to different opportunities that come your way, even if it means that you're going to start a job at 3 a.m. and work until, noon, it's not necessarily for everybody. So just keeping in mind that having that flexibility and open to different opportunities that come your way.
Thank you, Xhana. And that flexibility is so key. We talked a little bit about that this morning too. And sports is unlike so many other industries, so yeah, you have to be adaptable, you have to be flexible and being able to go with the flow and what's being asked of you. So great stuff. All right, who else wants to chime in on those skills?
I can chime in.
Sure, Evelyn, thank you.
It's been said, it's the flexibility, having an idea of what kind of person you are. Like if you're an accounting person, but you love sports, think about what that could look like for you. But if you need to start somewhere else, like a sales assistant, being open to starting, getting your foot in the door. Internships are also a big, way into, the industry as well. And you can find that out, we have LinkedIn. I saw that up, in the previous webinar. Going through LinkedIn and looking up, potential, managers or coordinators and seeing if you can network through that way. So it's being flexible, it's doing your research and understanding like who you are at this time. Like, what do you like? And do you like off hours, or are you gonna have an issue because it's not a set 9 to 5?
And that's a great point, Evelyn. And I'm a big believer in self-assessment and really encouraging students to really look into the mirror and just really figuring out who they are and what's going to work for them, and then navigating or identifying those careers that are going to be a fit for you based off of that. So great stuff. Anybody else want to chime in on essential skills and character qualities for success in sports?
Sergio here.
Hey, Sergio.
Two things stood out to me that I heard from the other panelists were being specific and being flexible. They're both rather different, right? But I think that being specific in your job search is very, very important. Just because I know that in the past, when I've been looking for work, especially coming out of college, kind of being open to the world, kind of had a lot of ideas. I was open to anything. But when people, friends, family, people in your network want to help you and they're asking you how your job search is going and what are you looking to get into, when you say, I'm open to anything, that doesn't really help. And so when you do get on the phone talking to recruiters and hiring managers, also I would say that we don't necessarily want to hear that either, just because it doesn't help you as a job seeker to stand out. What's going to help you stand out is to explain why this job, company, industry is the one for you. Now, at the same time, I think it's important to be flexible and open. I know that a lot of students always have their hearts set on an internship, which provide great opportunities for learning and development, but really should not underestimate a part-time game day position. What I tell people all the time is that the Warriors, we have a summer internship program, and we hire about 20 students every summer, but about 2,000 students apply. So you got 20 people competing for, or 20,000 people competing for 20 open spots. Whereas we're constantly hiring for part-time positions. And then in that pool, you've got hundreds of people competing for hundreds of jobs. Now, a part-time game day position isn't exactly the same as like a marketing finance internship where you're in office learning side by side with those office professionals. But what it can provide you is a great networking opportunity. Also, a chance to put the Warriors or all these great professional sports organizations, their logo on your resume, which tells future employers, look, I'm serious about this industry. I've got this stamp of approval. So with that, not only are you saying that you're interested in the industry, but you've shown that you can hold a job. And that's very valuable to have that front line face-to-face experience with our clients and guests, because that's going to help give you the edge when competing with others for jobs and internships.
Great stuff, Sergio. And I'm so glad too that you talked about opportunities and positions like game day. Because a lot of times we do get focused in on the internships, and as you mentioned, they're limited. But there are other opportunities, other entrees into sports, and that allow you to be able to learn, but also network. So thank you for sharing that. And Linda, I believe you had something you were going to add.
Yes, I just wanted to piggyback off of Sergio. He did bring something that resonated with me. He talked about a lot of the part-time opportunities here at the NFL. We have seasonal opportunities. And that's another opportunity where you can stay here for the season for 7 months and gain some knowledge and some skills and put that on your resume as well. That's a foot in the door and it's an opportunity. So it's always looking for those part-time opportunities, seasonal opportunities, because what they will do is they will bring you back. And then when there's a full-time opportunity, you will be the first person that will get that opportunity. And so I think looking at the experiences that we have along with the internships, I think also in terms of skills, I think being adaptable to many different things. You may want to come in and do one thing and they may ask you to do something else. Be open to it and learn everything that you can. I mean, just be a sponge coming into the sports industry, because you never know where that might lead you into a role, is to just be adaptable and being open. Being a team player, because you're going to work with other people in the industry. And so that's another skill set. And also, I think being solution driven, not just having the complaint, but also sharing what's your thoughts about some solutions to get better in the industry, is really what leaders are looking for, is for people to give them some thoughts how they can improve as well. And to be an active listener is really important, to have that skill set, to listen for other opportunities and the networking opportunities as well.
Thank you, Linda. A lot of good stuff. And I'm going to recap in just a moment. But I wanted to, before we move on, I want to ask Ryan, do you have anything particularly that you wanted to share just in terms of essential skills and character qualities for success in sports?
Yeah, I agree with everything that was said previously. The only couple things I'll add to that is I think everyone, would say, hard worker, but that's not really going to set you apart, because everyone's working hard, right? Everyone does that. And that's kind of the baseline that you need to build off of. So I agree with everyone said. I think I would add communication skills are super important, whether you're in an internal facing role, communicating internally to your manager, whoever it might be, or if you're in inside ticket sales and you're communicating out to clients and having different conversations that you're representing your organization. Having those types of skills, being clear and concise, I think is really, really important. And especially as people are just beginning to grow their careers, that can start to set certain people apart as they're being open and upfront and honest and clearly communicating.
Terrific, thank you. And there is an annual survey put out by an organization called the National Association of Colleges and Employers, or NACE. And Sergio and Xhana are probably familiar with it, but they ask employers each year, which skills are you most looking for? And communication skills tends to rank in the top 3. So definitely important to have communication skills. So students, I'm going to ask the panel another 1 or 2 questions, and I'm going to open the floor up for questions from you. So just be thinking about some of the questions you want to ask. Obviously, you can put them in the chat, or you can take yourself off mute. So just as a quick recap, going back, so being outgoing, being specific about what you want to do, looking for opportunities to gain experience, being flexible, keeping an open mind, having an idea of the kind of person that you are and allowing that to be able to direct you to what opportunities are there. Being specific, we heard again about flexibility, never underestimating, a part-time game position and how important that is. Being adaptable, open to different opportunities, being a team player, and being solutions driven. And I really think that's so awesome, because it is easy to complain. A lot of people are good about complaining, but not enough people come up with solutions. And as was mentioned, employers are looking for people solutions driven, active listener, and then obviously that connects to having communication, strong communication skills. So panel, great stuff. So next I'm going to phase into networking. So we talked about networking. We had a whole panel devoted to networking in the morning, but this is for the benefit of those who weren't able to join us this morning. And so our students hear a lot about the importance of networking and that they need to do it. But as we know, networking is more than a notion. It could be a little bit scary. It could be a little bit complex. And so I just want to ask you all, how would you advise students to go about networking with people like you, networking with people in the industry? What ideas do you have that you can share with our students about networking? Anyone can jump in.
Sergio here. I'll get things started. If I would say, if you're here on this call, this is a great first step. That means you're paying attention, you're finding out about opportunities, you're putting yourself out there, at least virtually. You want to, get to know as much as you can about the different types of positions and organizations. And I mean, look at the screen right here. Not only can you see our faces, you're hearing from us, but this is the entryway into beginning a conversation. You've got our names, our companies here. We've got a great tool called LinkedIn and the internet. And, sometimes people will either when we're on a phone interview, or maybe just a complete cold call contact. It's like, I hope you don't mind, I found you on LinkedIn. It's like, that's what it's for, right? I wouldn't put myself on LinkedIn if I didn't want people contacting me or me being able to contact others, right? So I think it's about trying to make that connection, trying to be respectful of people's time, knowing what you're trying to get out of the time that you have with them. So, like, hey, Brad Epstein, I saw, I participated, I saw you in this panel. I really liked what you said about XYZ. Would love to have 10 minutes of your time to talk about whatever it might be. I think that, because sometimes I notice that students, they will reach out, and one, I try to respond to everyone, but there are times when in my personal or professional life where I just get really caught up and I may not respond. But don't take a lack of response as a lack of interest, because people genuinely want to help. We're here because we want to help the next generation and provide information and make things easier and bridge the gap, right? So if we don't respond, try again a week later. Don't give up. And when you contact us, I think you just have a better response rate if you're specific about what you want. And, I'm available the rest of the week, 3 to 5 p.m. Would love 10 minutes of your time. I think that's easier rather than just, I want to talk, because at least we can kind of quantify what the time commitment might be. That's just an idea.
Thank you, Sergio. Thank you for starting us off. Who else wants to chime in on that networking?
I think, this is Dave. Sorry, Linda, if you want to go ahead, go ahead.
No, I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you, Dave.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I couldn't agree more with what Sergio had just said. I think it's very important. I know I don't mind speaking with people if they're interested, but it is true. Reach out to people and reach out to people with a purpose. People are willing to share. And I think business professionals, for the most part, like to help. And the thing that you have to remember is, yes, people are busy. So they also want to make sure that you're serious about the request. So I think just like you would prepare for an interview, you need to prepare for the conversation, prepare for the questions that you want to ask, and be aggressive, be proactive. Whether you're joining, groups on LinkedIn, so you have a chance to ask people questions, or, you just look up someone and you just reach out to them. And yes, I get people who ask me all the time if I could have a few minutes, they want to learn how I got involved in the industry. And, I usually am happy to speak with them if we can make it work. I think it's something that, you have to be the aggressor, though, and don't expect that once you send someone a message or to try to connect, that they're going to just connect. There has to be a reason behind it. So you need to make sure you're throwing a little more at them, so that they understand why you're trying to connect. Again, you're trying to separate yourself. And I think that's really important. But, you want to look for like-minded people that can, that maybe have had some similar experiences, and pick their brains, learn how they got into the industry, and understand that everyone, a lot of people who may have the same or similar jobs they may have gotten in their different ways. So try to take some of that information and, help use it to formulate your game plan, but understand that each individual has their own story. That doesn't mean it's the only way to do things. So, I think it's important. As a matter of fact, it's essential to really find out, information from a variety of people, and it certainly will pay back, but you do have to be the aggressor and prepare and ask intelligent questions that's going to stimulate them, because it also may be your very first interview. Right, frankly, you're really selling yourself, and maybe making that person think, wow, I do want that person. I might be interested in someone on your level joining my company. You never know where there's an opening.
Great stuff. And, Dave reminded me, we talk a lot about informational interviewing, just having those quick career discovery conversations with professionals, and how you present yourself could potentially lead to other opportunities. We don't suggest it, doing it to get an internship or a job, but if you show up well, you show up prepared, as they've mentioned, you ask intelligent questions that are going to pique interest, and you make a good impression, you never know. So thank you for sharing that, Dave. Linda?
No, Mr. Day stole my thunder, so all I can say is well said.
All right.
I just wanted to jump in really
Minds think
quickly.
alike.
Sure, John.
If I'm assuming that some of the population of the people attending this call might still be students that are, doing internships and so forth. For students specifically, I would say, look at different organizations that might be on your campus that are professional organizations that may host different seminars. I mean, I've worked for different things with Ron in the past, where he's worked at a specific school and asked me to come speak, virtually most recently and so forth. But not only that, when you are in an internship and you have other interns that you're working with, get to know your fellow interns, because that can be a real great wealth of, of contacts and networking for you later on. Because basically, if you're in an internship program, most likely you're a year or two around the same age of other interns in the program. You're going to graduate around the same time. You're going to get into business around the same time. And sometimes the connections that you make as an intern can pay off in 4 or 5 years, when one of your colleagues is at the company that you have your eyes set on. So don't discard the opportunities you have just amongst your peers to really build your network, in addition to reaching out to professionals that are already in the industry.
Great stuff, Xhana. And I just love too your connection to campus and to peers. So there are great opportunities on your campuses through organizations and their events, and then also your peers among your internship group. And Fox Sports has a fantastic internship program, and I'm definitely give Xhana an opportunity to plug that before we wrap up. All right, so anybody else want to share anything about networking before we move on?
I was just going to add to that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. When you're in an internship, really take advantage of that. It's an opportunity to learn a lot by working for that organization and understanding their processes, but also don't overlook how important the networking angle of that is for you to interact with your other interns. And I think you'd be surprised how many other people within the department or within the entire organization would be open to, hey, grabbing coffee for 15 minutes and learning a little bit about their role and what they do. Obviously, you're there to do a job and you can't take your eye off of that. But at the same time, I think you have such an incredible opportunity. If you're working for one of these organizations in a part-time role or an internship role, take advantage of that, because that job may or may not lead to a full-time position when it's over, but the context that you make in that role may lead to something greater down the line in a few years. And I think that's an incredibly important and sometimes overlooked part of working in these part-time and internship positions.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. And I know in panels like this, there's a lot of talk about how to get an internship, but it's important once you have an internship, how to maximize and make the most of it, because internships can lead to, as you mentioned, greater things. Great. And Linda, you had your hand raised. Did you have a question or a comment?
No, I just wanted to just share. It's amazing because the people that take advantage of those opportunities as interns, they really stand out because they're maximizing all of their opportunities. They're having one-on-ones with executives. They're meeting them for 15-minute coffees. They're participating in our lunch and learns, and they're getting involved in our company initiatives. And I think that there's a huge opportunity once you get in as internship is to maximize that small opportunity, whether it's a summer intern, fall internship, or a spring intern. You have to maximize the opportunities and take advantage of the access that you have with senior level executives or even peers. So it's very important.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that, Linda. And so just a quick recap of some things that have been shared already. So obviously, I'm sorry, just being specific about what you want, reaching out to people with a purpose. And I think what has been said a couple of different times is that people do want to help. So making it clear for students that these busy professionals actually do really want to help you. But it's just a matter of being proactive. I know Dave mentioned a couple of different times, being aggressive, but reaching out and look for like-minded people. And then looking at opportunities on your campus and networking with your peers, and just overall maximizing the opportunities your internship have access, whether it be to your peers or to executives. So a lot of good stuff I said. So I want to, I think, open the floor up for maybe a couple quick questions with students. And then I think I'm going to kick it back to my panel to touch on, quickly touch on a few different topics. And so let's look at the chat, and Woody, let me know. And Woody is a student that's actually monitoring our chat. So Woody, okay, we have Angel and Woody, do you know whose hand was up first between Angel and Giovanni?
I believe Giovanni.
Okay, so Giovanni, please go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, yeah, this is John Vonnie Cordiguera, and this is open to anybody on the panel that wants to answer it. But going throughout your career within sports, I just want to know what was your guys' biggest roadblock and how did you guys get over it?
Good question.
I think for myself, as Dave speaking, it was really getting people to know me. Nobody knows me. And again, looking for a job in sports is not unique at all. That's the reality. So it's really about separating yourself. One thing I would say that I probably didn't do right away getting out of school was get involved in as many things as I probably should have to develop, a stronger, an even stronger portfolio. Show that you're being aggressive. If there's not something there that you want to do, maybe you're creating it on campus. But I think that's extremely important. And always remember that you're, they say always be selling. You're really trying to sell yourself, no matter who you're working with, coworkers, maybe it's an editor at a student paper or whatever on a site, whatever it may be. So you have people who can speak for you. So I think it's really important to do that and get to know as many people as you can. And that's where it goes back to the networking, because again, there are a lot of Dear John letters that come out there. There are a lot of people, that don't get responses to legitimate requests. And the reality is people will respond when they know that either they know you or they know that you're connected to someone that they know and trust. So I think you have to find a way to get noticed. And I think that's extremely important.
Thank you, Dave. All right, let's jump to Angel. Angel, please ask your question. Angel, you're still on mute, I think. I don't think we can hear you. Yeah, unfortunately, we still can't hear you. Angel, we'll come back to you. But Aaron, feel free to ask your question. Then we'll come back to Angel. Yeah, Aaron, you're still on mute. No worries.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, sorry. I have a quick question. So I know you were talking about networking, mentoring, and all that, but my thing is like for example, for David, the UFC is a very niche market. So how did you get noticed within such a niche market that still has so much competition?
I do think part of it is, certainly I had been in the industry for a while, but one of the things was, when you do things, you need to make sure that people notice it. And I think that is extremely important. And once you get the opportunity to speak to someone, you need to be able to speak to what you've done and how you can make their lives even easier and even better. So I think, that's one of the things you need to be thinking of. When it's one thing to network, but now when you get the opportunity to speak with someone, how can you speak in a way that positions yourself as someone who can make that potential employer or supervisor's life even easier? You want to make sure that they envision how you can fit into their universe. But part of what I did was it was outreach. I mean, I reached out to anyone and everyone. I've done that throughout my career. And it may not be just because you want a job, you just want to connect with someone. You just may be impressed with what they're doing or where they are, and you just want to learn what they've done. And it may not be in search for a job. And again, what you'll be surprised, because the sports industry is so small, is you may be talking to someone or connect with someone who someone else may want to hire you also knows, and may see that there's a connection and reach out to that person for a reference, just to kind of check up and see what they think of you. So realize every interaction is an interview, and it's also a way to sell yourself.
Terrific. Thank you, Dave.
Thank
So I'm sorry, go ahead. Okay. So I'm gonna go back to Angel, but before I do that, so Caroline put a question in the chat. And so if any of the panelists want to actually address her question, she's asking about podcast recommendations, feel free to do so. And so let's go back to Angel. Yeah, Angel, for some reason, we still can't hear you. Go ahead and put your question in the chat. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not sure what the technical issues are, but go ahead and put your question in the chat and we'll definitely take care of it. The next, I think is it Kiana Banks? Kiana, can you hear me?
Hi, how are you?
Good, Kiana, how you doing?
I'm great. Can you repeat the question?
So I think did you have your hand raised to ask a question?
No, sir. I don't think I have my hand raised.
My apologies. I thought my apologies. I thought something hand raised.
No, you're totally fine. But I just want to, thank you first and foremost for the opportunity of being here. This has been honestly great. A lot of my personal network is in here and they've joined pretty much all day. But I actually did have a question for Sergio.
Sure.
So I've heard a lot about the internships at JSW. I've heard a lot of great things. Is it true that you all offer relocation for internships and or a place for the interns to stay over the duration of it?
No, unfortunately. However, what you may have heard about, so yeah, the Golden State Warriors, we have a summer internship program. The application period opens February 1st through 15th online at warriors.com/internship. It's typically for undergrads. It's an 8-week program in the summer. We hire about 20 interns. It pays $20 per hour, located on site in San Francisco, California. What you may have heard of is that we've had a partnership. This will be the second year with the NBA League Office. They have what's called a HBCU fellowship. And so within that program, the NBA does the recruiting and partnership with all these HBCUs. And so they basically ask all the NBA teams, hey, Warriors, do you want an intern? If so, which department? We tell them, and then they bring us, outside of our own summer internship, they bring us candidates that we interview and hire. But meanwhile, it's like kind of like special intern where that intern, at least last year, was the first year. It almost coincides with our summer internship program. It's like a little off, starts a little bit earlier, ends a little earlier. But with that, they get paid as much as our interns do. But the special piece is that they are provided relocation and housing assistance. And that makes a lot of sense because there aren't any HBCUs in the area. So they're usually coming from cross country. And that's been great too, because definitely that's something where, oftentimes we will hire local students just because it makes more sense logistically. Either they're from the area or they go to school in the area. And so they'll be here in the summertime. They have a tie to the Bay Area. But that's maybe what you have heard. Outside of the HBCU fellowship program with the MBA, no, unfortunately, we do not provide relocation assistance.
All right, Sergio,
Well,
thank you.
thank you so much.
Sergio, thank you. All right, so I think I saw what hand, I think the hand went down. Angel, if you haven't done so already yet, please go ahead and put your question in the chat, and so we can tackle that. So I don't know, let me see, I think that saw one other question that Dante, okay. So does Dante still have his hand up? Dante, do you have still a question to ask? And if not,
Hello,
we'll.
how you doing?
Yes, hi, Dante.
How you doing? My name is Dante Carhill. I am a senior at Texas A&M University of Commerce. I am located in LA right now, working for the LA Clippers and also SoFi Stadium. So I am in the industry. However, I can't find what I need. And I've been struggling with this for like a year now. I've been looking for an internship for the longest to graduate, and it's kind of getting frustrating because I'm in the industry. I'm here. I'm getting the experience, and it's but I can't find an internship. It seems like all the internships are like the spring and the summer, and it's kind of getting frustrated because it's like I have all these opportunities right in front of me, but when I apply for them, it's not going as as planned, or and we're talking about networking, and I have been networking with others. However, it's like I don't want to network with somebody if I can't, have a relationship with somebody. So it's like, how do you keep a relationship with someone that's in the industry and keep having a relationship, like a mentor, because it's kind of like, I feel like I'm doing the right things, like I'm leading my own way in my own lane. I just feel like I need help. And when I try to reach out, it's like, my networks are, because it's in the season. I understand, we're in the season of NBL, and, we got championship going on, Super Bowl coming up, and then the NBA. But my question is, like, how do you keep relationships? How do you get those opportunities going and, get a full-time, or, because I've done part-time jobs. However, I can't get an internship or a full-time job.
Okay.
I
Thank
can answer that one.
you. Go ahead, Evelyn. Yeah.
Right. So I heard somebody once say, what are your relationships? So as you meet someone, keep it going, keep the follow-up. You find out what their LinkedIn address is or their email, and you reach out to them. And, maybe every couple of weeks or once a month, if you see an article or, you thought of something interesting, share that. They may or may not get back to you, but if you're consistent with your communication, you're starting to build a rapport with that person. And then also, as been mentioned before, like you may have met them once, but you can ask them, hey, do you have 10 to 15 minutes to talk really quickly? Just want to catch up, let you know what I'm doing. Or, do you have 10, 15 minutes to do coffee or something like that? You just find ways that you can interact. And there's nothing wrong with preparation. We don't talk about it often, but come up with topics that you have learned from your first interaction with that person, and just prepare yourself with questions or with thoughts. And, oh, I think this person may be interested. And I think that'll help build your relationships and keep that door open.
Thank you, Evelyn. And yeah, that consistency is so important, and just continue to follow up. And that's how relationships, or just a simple contact, develops into a relationship that can work not only for you, for the person. So thank you, Evelyn, for sharing that. So folks, we're getting close to time. And so I wanted to give our panel a chance to give some parting advice. And so we didn't get a chance to cover everything, but hopefully in the parting advice, we'll be able to cover some more topics. And so I'm going to ask a panelist, if you wouldn't mind maybe sharing some quickly sharing some parting advice. You can touch on mentoring, you touch on resume building, internships, but any other piece of advice that you think is important for our students here to hear. So maybe let's start with Evelyn. Since we were with you, Evelyn, do you have any other parting advice to offer our students?
I don't know if we touched on it, but mentorship is really big. I'm a big proponent of having a mentor. You can have one on campus if you're off campus, and you are in an organization, because there are media organizations outside of your regular job that you can join. It's really big, especially for multicultural organizations, and they have opportunities for you to obtain a mentor. But mentors are important because they can help guide you, and you can ask those questions that you may not feel comfortable asking somebody at an interview or someone you're not comfortable with. But that mentor-mentee relationship gives you the opportunity to think out loud without fear for repercussion. So I think it's important that you establish that, or look for that. But in addition to networking, definitely secure a mentor. And a mentors are not just for entry level or when you get a job. You get a mentor at every stage of your career. So it's ongoing.
Terrific. Thank you for sharing that. Mentors are extremely important. And I love that you mentioned something that's for ongoing throughout your career, not just when you're starting. All right. Let's jump to Linda. Linda, any parting words of advice?
Yes, would like to say that I have the saying put your deposits in your career. And what I mean by that is everything that you do is a deposit, whether it's a networking opportunity, a mentor, but make deposits towards your career. I think mentorships are important. I would honestly say that you don't have to have mentors that look like you. You can have mentors that from all different walks of life. And these mentors are the ones that are going to give you some feedback that you may not want to hear, but just be open, be receptive to it, and receive it. I think that's extremely important for mentors. And the other thing I would say is stay consistent. When you reach out to someone, make sure that you stay consistent with them and make sure that you are prepared with questions so you can stay on track. And people are here to help you to get into the industry. I just want to make that very clear, that people are here to help.
Terrific. And I don't think we can say that enough, for our students to understand. So great. Thank you, Linda. And Ryan, how about you? Any parting words of advice?
Yeah, I'll add two things quickly. The one thing I'll say, I know for a lot of you, it probably seems daunting to try to find that foot in the door or that internship. The first thing I'd say is cast a wide net. We get thousands of applicants when we post an entry level or an internship role, and it can be tough to kind of set yourself aside. But I think the biggest mistake that I see young people trying to take that step in their career is saying, well, I'm a basketball fan, so I'm going to apply to a couple basketball teams and see where it goes. You can see on this panel, there's so many different entities within the sports world. Teams and leagues are not the beginning and end of it. There's agencies, there's media entities, there's so many other areas within the industry, many of which that I work with on a day-to-day basis that are working in the sports industry, but are not just a league or just a team. So especially when you're early in your career, I'd say continue to cast a wide net, be flexible, because you never know where that's going to take you and what opportunities are going to open up from there. The other thing I'd say, which was a piece of advice that I got when I was interning, I remember one day standing at the copier looking very bored, probably making a bunch of copies of a contract, not really putting too much stock into it. And there was a VP who came by who said, "What are you doing?" And I'm making copies of this contract. And it was a multi-million-dollar sponsorship contract. And they said to me, "You ever read a multi-million-dollar sponsorship contract? No. You ever seen how force majeure language is written? No. Have you ever seen how different assets are written? No, nothing." And they said, rather than sitting there and just doing the kind of boring tasks, like take value out of whatever task you're doing. If you're making copies, if you're doing something that maybe on the surface doesn't seem like it's super exciting, there's value to be driven from that. Everything you do when you are in some of these entry-level roles, learning about why an organization does something the way that they do from the ground up, there can be value taken from that, and things that I learned in my first few years in the industry that set me up long-term. These tasks that you kind of get out of it what you put in. And so that's the other thing I'd say is, as you're starting out, no matter what role you in, there's some type of value that you can take from that role and something you can learn that can help you along the way.
Terrific, Ryan. And I really appreciate everything you shared, but just that last piece about taking value out of whatever you're doing, whatever role you're in, I think it's so important because people look at things as mundane, it's like, why am I doing this? Why do I have to do this? But yeah, taking the next level, having a different mindset. So that's great for our students to hear it. Great for everybody to hear, honestly. Dave, did you want to chime in for any parting words of advice?
Certainly, I would love to. I think when you talk about networking, one thing you have to think about too is not just to get the job, but while you're in the job. You know, it may not just be whoever your supervisor is, but other business professionals that are in that company. Get to know them. You never know where they're going to go or what they may be looking for. But again, I think it's extremely important to try to speak with other professionals while you're doing those internships to really again, build a wider frame of references who can speak on your behalf. Another thing is, I think you have to be honest with yourself, really take an uncomfortable look at yourself. What are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? And instead of running from the fire, you have to run to it. You have to run to those weaknesses and turn them into strengths. You have to say, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Find ways to put yourself in situations to either learn about certain technologies, trends, et cetera, that you may not be as comfortable with. Maybe you need to be a better writer. Maybe you need to be a better public speaker. But put yourself in those situations to strengthen any holes or weaknesses that you have, because you never know if people may be able to pick up on that, or you never know who you're competing with. So you must make sure that you build this, as solid a foundation as you can, because the old saying, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And look at that. And it's not easy. It's not always a comfortable thing to do, but you will benefit from it, because you're going to find if you take a weakness and you make it a strength and you're comfortable with that, it's very empowering.
Great stuff, Dave. I'm a big proponent of definitely assessing your strengths and weaknesses. So thank you for sharing that. And so, Xhana and Sergio, I saved you all for the last for a purpose. And so, in your parting remarks, I certainly appreciate it if you could just briefly, if you want to touch on resume building or interviewing, or just to overall internship search. And Xhana, feel free to plug Fox Sports internship.
Great. I'll try to go fast because I know we're getting close to time and you have another event coming up at 4. But I would just say with our internship program, I manage the campus internship program for Fox Corporation, which includes not only Fox Sports, but Fox Entertainment, news media, ad sales, technology, and so forth. So there's, a home for pretty much every major out there at a place like Fox. We have a summer program that runs for 8 weeks. Our applications are currently open. I'll drop the link in the chat for people that want to apply, but it's at foxcareers.com/students. And we have opportunities, kind of nationwide. The majority of our sports roles would be in Los Angeles, with a handful in our production facility in Charlotte, North Carolina, and then also a few sports opportunities in New York. All of our opportunities are paid, and if you are interested in getting school credit, you can do that as well, but it's not a credit in lieu of pay. You would still get paid. Our applications are open until Sunday, February 12th, which is Super Bowl Sunday. So you'll keep that in mind, that, hey, when the Super Bowl comes, if I haven't put my application in, I better get it in today. Similar to Sergio's program in the Bay Area, we get, anywhere from 16 to 20,000 applications for about 200 to 250 roles. So it is very competitive. Make sure your resume is, clean, free of errors, and really highlight, some of the things you've done. If you haven't had a lot of work experience, highlight coursework that you've had that might relate to an opportunity with us, or, different leadership activities you've had at school and so forth. So, it is an internship role, and some of the people that are in our program, this is going to be their first kind of real job outside of, maybe babysitting or dog walking. So, we are open to all levels of experience. We want to give people an opportunity to, get into their careers. Also, we do ask for a cover letter. The cover letter is a great way to kind of tell your story, to let us know what you're looking for, what areas of interest you are, looking for, what geographic location of the country you can work in, and so forth. So that's just a really, really quick plug there. And then just in terms of like some parting words and we also do have school year opportunities too. So during the school year, it's 10-week opportunities in spring and fall. Right now, all of our spring opportunities have been closed, but we do have a lot of summer opportunities. But one parting word of advice I would just say is, don't give up. You may apply to 50 jobs and not hear from anybody. When I was getting started in my career, there was a particular company I wanted to work for. I wanted to go into the music industry, and I would go on interviews, and I would think that, oh, I did such a great job, and then somebody else would get the role. But I didn't give up. I kept going on interviews. There was a person in HR that just happened to take a liking to me and would send me on these different opportunities. And eventually I did get a job at that company, and I was there for many years. And I will just say that once I got into the role that I was hired into and got to know what some of the other departments were like that I had interviewed for, I realized I would have hated those jobs. And it was meant to be that I got the one that I got because that was the one that was meant for me. And I sometimes talk to students that will tell me, I've applied to your program every single semester that I've been eligible. And, I'm like, well, I'm glad that you didn't give up, because now you're getting an offer and you're going to be joining us. And I did have one student tell me, she said, you know what, if I had gotten the job when I was a sophomore, I don't think I would have been able to handle it. So it happened the way it was supposed to. So just don't give up and keep plugging away.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Okay, Sergio, bring us home from your final parting words of advice.
Great. Thanks again. It's been a lot of fun. So the Golden State Warriors has a summer internship program. You can apply online, warriors.com/internship. February 1st through 15th will be the application period. There will probably be about 15 different departments that will be hosting interns. So it could be finance, corporate partnerships, people operations, talent acquisition. That's where I work. And it's typically for rising junior and senior undergrads. But sometimes we do have graduate student positions open as well. And so these internships, not only is there a variety of different departments, but it's for all of our entities. So Golden State Warriors, Chase Center, Santa Cruz Warriors, our G League affiliate, and our esports company. And so what else would I want to mention? At warriors.com/internship, not only can you go there to apply when the application period opens, but also if you go there now, you can see recordings from 2020. Because of the pandemic, we had to pivot and we didn't have a traditional on-site internship. So we had a virtual internship conference. So basically we had a series of multiple panels with employees from across the organization, coordinator up to senior vice president, talking about their work. So it's a good place to go and check out the recordings and learn more about the NBA, the Warriors, and what these different types of positions do. There at the bottom of the same website, warriors.com/internship, you can also find resume and cover letter workshop and interviewing advice. And so with that, it's like pretty much everything that we've touched on in this panel is kind of mentioned there in a way. So although it's called a resume and cover letter workshop, it really gives advice on how to create an elevator pitch, which is helpful for networking, not just saying like, oh, I want to get my foot in the door. Everybody wants to get their foot in the door, but what exactly you're trying to get into. So I'll give advice on that, because if you have your elevator pitch, you can make a great cover letter, which will impact your resume, which will help get you a phone call where you can then express your elevator pitch verbally and try to nail that job. And so a lot of great advice there. And it's not just specific to the Warriors of the NBA too. So check out that video, learn a little bit, go apply to the Fox Corporation because they've got a ton of internships open there and a lot of great other organizations. So thank you. See you on LinkedIn. Until next time.
Okay, great stuff, Sergio. Well, fantastic panel. And so I just want to thank Dave, Evelyn, Linda, Ryan, Sergio, and Xhana once again, just for not only investing the time out of your busy schedules, but all this wonderful insight. And thank you for all the information you've been putting in the chat. The chat's been very active. So thank you for addressing student questions, providing some additional resources too. So we know you're busy, but once again, the time that you're investing in our students is making a difference. And they're going to be better because of what you offered, and they're our future. And so thank you for helping your industry out, investing time today. And I definitely look forward to being in touch with all of you again.